Right, return to a little seat on the plaza next to the church. It's game day in Santander for Racing versus FC Andorra, Gerard Piqué's team of course. What I thought I'd do is, Racing are a super interesting team, one of the founders of La Liga, but have found themselves in a lot of financial issues, a lot of crazy stories, even just in the last decade or so. So what I thought I'd do is, I've done some research and I'm going to explain as I walk to the game a little bit about the team and the issues that they are still facing to this day. Okay, slight change of plan. As you can see, I'm no longer in Santander. I'm back home. I got home on the Monday morning, went into work, came back from work really excited to edit what will be my first football video, and the audio of the next few clips was totally knackered. It was like the camera was underwater or something. Obviously it wasn't, I was walking about a city. So what I'm just going to do is retell those clips here, and then it'll quickly whiz back to Santander to finish it off. If you are just here for the game, I'd recommend to check out my channel and see that there'll be a separate video on there with the kind of game highlights. I've just separated the two of them. It's a lot easier for my poor editing software to try and break down, and easier for me to keep track of. So if you are here for the game, head there. If not, stick around and I'll tell you a bit about the club that we went to see. So, Racing Club de Santander, they were founded in 1913 and are one of the 10 founding members of La Liga in Spain. It's quite a big deal for the Spanish. Other clubs obviously involving Barca and Real, the first two, and Real Oviedo, and then a few clubs that have went bust as well. They've spent most of their existence in La Liga, competing in La Liga, a couple of relegations here and there, but certainly in the top league most of the time. I'd like to fast forward through that though to the mid-2000s, which is where this kind of side of their history begins. In the mid-2000s, they had a very eccentric Ukrainian-American businessman as their owner. His running of the club was questionable to say the least, and throughout the 2000s, Racing Santander were mostly trying to survive relegation from La Liga. They finally managed to get this guy out the door, and this brings instant success. In 2008, they managed to achieve a 6th place finish in La Liga under the guidance of Marcelino. Marcelino's now quite a household name in La Liga, a successful coach. At that point, he was kind of starting out his career. So 6th place in La Liga at the point meant a UEFA Cup competition the following season. Oddly enough, Marcelino actually leaves before the next campaign can begin. This was maybe an early sign that things behind closed doors were not going as well as they seemed. Regardless, Santander compete in UEFA Cup and only lose out goal difference to the next qualification round. They faced the likes of Man City, PSG, Schalke, and a Dutch side, I think it was FC Twente. Obviously, PSG and Man City are kind of different prospects in 2008 compared to now, but you know, two big teams in Europe. Schalke were quite big at the time, and it was quite an achievement to have played so well in the competition. Fast forward again to January 2011, and Hassan Ali Syed, an Indian businessman, completes his purchase of Racing Santander. He just failed in a purchase of Blackburn Rovers in England. So Syed comes in, all guns blazing. He sacks the man in charge at the point and brings in Marcelino, who brought them the original success. He pledges £50 million in a transfer budget for the coming summer, and basically pledges to the fans that within a few years silverware will be achieved by the club. Quite a ridiculously short amount of time after that, an article comes out in Sydney's Morning Herald, basically labelling Syed's asset management company, Western Gulf, as a total fraud, owing up to $100 million Australian dollars worth of money to various creditors here and there, and having missed 12 payments on loans that the company owned throughout the world. A warrant for arrest is issued out in Bahrain and Switzerland, which is the two countries that Syed's company are really based in. Syed instantly refutes these, quoting, "They can chase me," which kind of summarises what kind of a guy he is. Again, very shortly after that, plans were leaked that Syed only ever intended to purchase Santander and then flip them for profit. He believed his links with the Bahraini royal family would help him achieve this. However, with the allegations going on, they never came close. Marcelino, he promptly leaves again, and the club suffer back-to-back relegations all the way down into the semi-professional level to Tercera divisions. Right, I believe that's been caught up now. Totally recommend checking out the game video. It was one of the best atmospheres I've ever been to. So anyway, back to Santander. Syed was finally kicked out in 2013, but the club was obviously in the third division with financial issues. But that didn't really stop the craziness from Racing. In 2013-14 season, despite being in Tercera, they went on a cup run all the way to the quarter-finals of the Copa del Rey. They knocked out 2 Tercera teams, however then claimed the scalps of Sevilla, obviously one of the biggest teams in La Liga, and Almeria as well. In that latter game though against Almeria, the financial issues at the club started to really become apparent. The players, for the first 20 seconds of that game, refused to play due to not having any sort of payment since September, which would have been 4 to 5 months beforehand. They eventually did play and even won the match. However, the director's box was stormed by Santander fans angry with the situation. President Angel Levin, who would later serve a prison sentence of 3.5 years for his mismanagement of the club's affairs, he had to be escorted out safely by the police to avoid answering to the fans. Following this, the club would play Real Sociedad in the quarter-finals. Having lost the first leg 3-1, the players took their protest one step further and on the referee's whistle stood in a line along the centre circle and refused to play. Some bemused Sociedad players passed it amongst themselves for about a minute or so before referee Gil Manzano, who still referees today, he called the game abandoned and it was a Santander forfeit. I'd love to tell you that's where the craziness ends and it gets better from there. However, in 2015, having spent some time with such a mountainous debt and also the restrictions of being a semi-professional team, the club's liquidation and disappearance appeared quite an inevitability. Eventually the club managed to get together the correct appeals and created shares for other members to buy. This is something I feel quite close to my heart, as at just about the same time that Syed was destroying the club, my own hometown team had similar liquidation issues and successfully managed to become the largest fan-owned club side in the UK. But in any case, after Santander created these appeals, many fans flocked to try and save their club. A players' association, or former players' association, was formed, who invested a lot of money in there as well. I'm absolutely not. A special mention would certainly need to go to former Racing player Manolo Higuera. He invested a lot of money into the club, the former player turned lawyer and businessman. He invested a lot of money and would later come on to become club president as well. So after successfully saving the club, fast forward to now, and the problems have certainly not disappeared. Santander do find themselves in the Segunda, having just been promoted, however are kind of hovering above the relegation zone, just 1 point above Ponferradina, I think it is, who are in 19th. So any points today against fellow promoted side Andorra would certainly be very well appreciated by the club. They really need to spend some time, I think, consolidating, being able to stay professional so they can build on, because there is a crazy support here. I believe El Sardinero holds about 22,000 people, and even down in the kind of Tercera leagues, the club was still achieving 9,000, 10,000 supporters in a game, which is actually extremely impressive considering the drop off that the club faced. So that's a short history on Racing Santander anyway. I'm going to fast forward to the stadium now. It's not another 2 hours or so till kick off. I'll get myself there, scout around. If I don't find anything, I'll just find a bar and relax for a while. But yeah, to El Sardinero.